Here is a typical North African countryside, peaceful and quiet looking. But death, in the form of an enemy minefield, lies in wait for careless troops who blunder onto it. As soon as the minefield was discovered, markers and fences were put up as a warning. This road leading through the minefield was used by the enemy to travel safely through their own protective fields of mines. Minefields are laid on the flanks, front or rear of a unit. Gaps like this one must be left open in the field so that communications can continue. Notice how these gaps are protected by other small minefields. A closer look at this road shows that when the enemy pulled out, they tried to block the road with mines and booby traps. In this case, specially trained men were called on to clear the area. However, every soldier should be ready and able to do the same thing if specialists are not available. Let's have a look at what the enemy leaves behind. Here is the German Tellermine No. 1, the standard German anti-tank mine. You are looking at the top surface. There is the handle and the main pressure igniter. In the side, opposite the handle, and in the bottom are fittings that permit the insertion of secondary igniters like the pull igniters shown here. These secondary igniters will set off the mine if it is lifted or moved, unless they are first neutralized. On the left is the complete Tellermine. Its component parts are shown beside it. Here is the top of the mine with the fuse removed. 11 pounds of high-grade TNT lie under that top plate. And here the top has been cut away to show the bottom plate. In the center is the receiver for the main detonator. To the right is a booster charge. This is a Tellermine No. 3, the same mine as the Tellermine No. 1, but with a fluted top. Some of the enemy's methods of laying Tellermines. The first figure shows the mine used against vehicles only. The arming claw wire is pulled to arm the mine after it's placed. Next, the arming claw wire to the main fuse. Safety pin cords to the secondary igniters which pull the safety pins out. The bottom pull igniter is fastened to a stake. Next, the arming claw wire and bottom pull igniter staked down. Arming claw wire to main fuse, safety pin cord to side igniter tied to a stake. And this is a plan view of the same thing. Arming wires, trench for the wires, and the pull wire to the stake. One method of removing a Tellermine is shown here. This was taken at Kasserine when the Americans first entered. The mine is located by the mine detector. The American officer carefully probes. Cautiously removes some soil. And exposes the fuse of a Tellermine. A slip knot is tied around the fuse, and the mine is pulled out with 50 feet of rope. This is one of the safest methods of removing a mine, but can only be used when secrecy is not important. Back at our original minefield, this American officer must remove this Tellermine secretly. He cautiously pushes home the safety pin on the main igniter and then unscrews it. As an added precaution, he turns the screw head to the safe position, being careful to hold the fuse away from his face and the mine. He then cuts the wire that leads from the handle to the antipersonnel mine that he has already neutralized. Carefully clears away additional soil and uses a pocket mirror to examine the bottom for additional activating devices. Here are some enemy mines that have been recovered in this manner. They are ready to be used again, this time against our enemy. Now let's take a look at some of the other mines found here. An American officer is explaining the workings of the German S or bounding mine. On the extreme left is an S mine with a push type or pressure igniter. Its component parts are beside it. This mine shoots into the air and explodes from a height of about 5 feet. Damage is caused by hundreds of steel balls that are sent flying in all directions. Here one has been found in the shell hole, a favorite place of the enemy to hide them. This one has a pressure igniter in it, which the British soldier removes. Another trick of the enemy is to pile mud on a milestone. To read the milestone, the mud must be removed, and a careless foot may step on that push-type igniter attached to the S-mine. This British sapper carefully marks the mine for removal. Here again is the S-mine, with a pressure igniter in the one on the left. The top is removed from the mine on the right. Here an S-mine fitted with a pressure igniter has been uncovered so that the complete igniter is visible. Another type igniter is this pull variety. A pull or jar on this strand of barbed wire will set off the S-mine with fatal results to anyone close by. This soldier is carefully tracing a broken telephone transmission wire. And finds it leads to a pull igniter installed in an S-mine. A careless tug on the wire would set it off. By using this Y coupling in the S-mine, 2 pull igniters can be used. Either pull igniter can set off the mine. And here a British officer has found a Y coupling with each pull igniter attached to a trip wire. The trip wires are marked with pieces of tracing tape. Another type of push or pressure igniter is this German electric igniter. Pressure applied to the prongs of the antenna break a tiny glass vial which actuates a small electric battery. This electric current travels to an electric bridge on the mine itself and detonates the mine. They are attached in chains of 9, 2 chains to a single mine. Here are S-mines with various types of igniters fitted into them. This is the Italian B4 antipersonnel mine. When detonated, it does not bound into the air, but scatters scrap metal shrapnel. The last resting place for a German soldier. Even in death, he is dangerous. That helmet is obviously a booby trap, and a very poorly installed one because the string is too long. But here is something that must be watched for. All around the poorly installed booby trap have been placed well-camouflaged antipersonnel mines. They are pressure igniters, which we have marked with white cloth. So that our forces can use this road, the oil drum barricade must be removed. By careful probing, the specialists found that each drum was resting over a mine with a pull-type igniter. And now a box mine improvised by the Italians. These are 4 detonators. Incidentally, this mine has enough metal in the fittings and nails in the box to be discovered by our electric mine detectors. And there is the explosive charge. This is the Italian antitank mine. The explosive is contained at each end of the metal box. Pressure on the lid forces this shearing blade down to cut a strand of wire that has been holding back the striker. Pressure here forces down a safety mechanism, allowing the striker to fall on the detonator. This detonating cord detonates the 4-pound charge at each end of the box. The Italian V3 or N5 mine, shown here, is used either as an antivehicle or antipersonnel mine. It is extremely dangerous and should only be handled by experts. 22 pounds pressure will set off the igniters at each end, but when used as an antivehicle mine, a shear pin is placed in the igniter to increase the pressure needed to set off the mine. This German Eggbomb is set off by the friction igniter shown on the right. When abandoned by the enemy, they sometimes remove the delay action fuse, as on the left, so that the bomb or grenade will go off instantaneously in the hand of the user. And here is the German LPZ anti-tank mine, a light mine carried by paratroopers. It contains a 5-pound charge. The underside of the top plate shows 5 igniters in the cover. Pressure on any one of these will set off the mine. This British officer follows a tripwire and finds it attached to an Italian picket mine, an easy mine to install and camouflage. Upon detonation, that steel spiral coil shatters and flying pieces produce casualties. Here, an officer investigates some abandoned equipment that would spell death to a souvenir hunter. A pull on the gas mask or canteen would set off this German stick grenade. Meanwhile, this abandoned automobile has been carefully examined for all possible types of igniters. Here, a wire is found leading from the door handle to underneath the seat cover. It is attached to a German stick grenade. The soldier must watch that wire on the other end of the grenade. These American soldiers were faced with a complicated problem. They discovered a Tellermine with antipersonnel mines attached to each side. They cautiously removed the earth around the mines and found an S mine on the right with a Y coupling containing 2 pull igniters, one attached to a tripwire and the other tied to the handle of the Tellermine. On the left is a German-prepared charge with a pull-type igniter tied to the pull igniter on the side of the Tellermine. Notice how carefully these men have dug trenches around the wires and igniters, exposing the whole setup. Also notice that the antipersonnel mines are neutralized before the Tellermine. And here is a lesson to remember about S-mines. S-mines and safety. Read this and avoid casualties. S-mines explode at heights ranging from 5 to 10 feet and are effective 100 yards away. But there is a period of 4 seconds delay between detonation and explosion. If you tread on one, you will feel the explosion of an igniter under your foot. Therefore, if you ever feel this explosion, or if when walking along you pull a tripwire like this, shout immediately to anyone about, S-mine, down! Then throw yourself flat, and it's unlikely that you'll be hit by the flying steel balls, and you will be among those present next mealtime. Remember this, anytime you handle a mine, you are shaking hands with death. You have only one means of protection, and that is your own knowledge. Remember everything you see or hear about mines, and hang on to any instruction you are given. If you know your mines, you will live longer.